Senior year, my childhood sweetheart, Ava Miller, fell for the new transfer student. To get his attention, she fought against her germophobia to volunteer with him at the local animal shelter. To sit next to him, she broke the pact we'd made and intentionally bombed a test. To defend him, she got into a fistfight with some towny girl behind a 7-Eleven, coming away bruised and bleeding, but never letting go. For Leo, she ditched me again and again. The warmth that had once been mine and mine alone, she gave it all to him. But she'd forgotten something. The bond we shared, the one that felt like fate, was something she'd begged for in another life. On her knees, climbing 999 stone steps to a forgotten chapel. The day I got the early acceptance letter from Harvard, Ava, for the first time in months, broke her icy silence and asked to see me. It was hard to believe that our 18 years of friendship, a bond that felt unbreakable, had been reduced to this. Two strangers passing in the hall, all because of a guy who'd shown up 3 months ago. But even knowing her heart wasn't with me anymore, I couldn't stop loving her. Every time I saw her laughing with Leo Diaz, my chest filled with a bitter, acidic mix of envy and sorrow. Looking at my own reflection, at the drained, haunted face staring back, I didn't recognize the confident guy I used to be. From the moment Leo transferred into our AP history class, Ava had been drifting away from me, pulled into his orbit. The feeling of having something that was fundamentally yours stolen right out from under you. It was a deep, tearing pain, and I was completely powerless to stop it. It felt like a red thread was tied around my heart, and with every step Ava took away from me, it pulled tighter, threatening to snap. My best friend, Mark Davis, saw how I was falling apart. "Ethan, seriously, man," he'd said, shaking his head in disappointment. "You're letting one girl wreck you like this? Have some self-respect. If Ava fell for a guy like Leo, it's her loss. You'll find someone way better, and she'll spend the rest of her life regretting it." I wanted to believe him, but I couldn't just let go. The thought of Ava loving someone else was a physical pain, the thread around my heart twisting until I couldn't breathe. Losing her felt like losing everything. I didn't understand it. This obsessive feeling wasn't like me at all. Just look at me now. She hadn't spoken a civil word to me in weeks, but the second she texted, I was meticulously picking out an outfit, trying to look my best, a stupid, secret hope blooming in my chest. I decided this was it. I was going to tell her how I felt one last time. We walked in silence across the school's football field, the bleachers empty and stark under the afternoon sun. She didn't walk close to me like she used to, her shoulder brushing mine. Instead, she kept a careful distance like we were just classmates. It made all our years of closeness feel like a dream I'd had. I took a deep breath. "Ava, I have to tell you, I'm in low." "Ethan," she cut me off. Her voice was soft, but laced with an uncomfortable tension. "I asked you here because I need to ask you for something. I was wondering if you would give your Harvard acceptance to Leo." The words I was about to say died in my throat. It took a moment before I could find my voice. "What did you just say?" Ava stared at the ground, unable to meet my eyes. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I know it's a terrible thing to ask, but Leo, he really needs this. He's been through so much." She finally looked up, her gaze pleading. "You know his family doesn't have money. If he just relies on his grades, the best he can hope for is a state school. But you're different. You're Ethan Carter. You could get into Harvard or any other Ivy League school through the regular application process. No problem." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You asked me here. For this. For him." My voice trembled, and each word felt like a shard of glass in my throat. She looked down again. "I'm sorry," she whispered. A bitter, broken laugh escaped my lips. "Are you serious? Ava, you've known him for less than a year. We've known each other our entire lives, and you want me to give up my spot for him? Does hurting me mean so little to you? Is it because you know how I feel? You know I love you, so you figure you could just walk all over me, and I'll forgive you. Is that it?" Her eyes flickered, a flash of something unreadable in their depths. She offered no explanation, just another quiet, pathetic, "I'm sorry." "Stop," I begged, my voice cracking. "Just stop apologizing." She had to know that wasn't what I wanted to hear. Just then, a flash of movement from the edge of the woods bordering the field. A rock came hurtling through the air, aimed right at me. And in that split second, the world fractured, and a flood of memories that weren't mine crashed over me. Ava and I were born on the same day, in the same hospital. Our families lived next door to each other. This strange coincidence led everyone to believe we were destined to be together. We were inseparable from the start. Same preschool, same elementary, same middle school, and now the same high school. We were always in the same class, never apart. Our friends were jealous of what we had. The perfect childhood sweetheart story. Both our families were well off, and our parents had been joking about us getting married since we were in diapers. Our lives had been a smooth, straight line, without any real hardships. Everyone said we were meant for each other, and I never once doubted it. It felt like a quiet voice deep inside me was always whispering, "You and Ava are a perfect match. Nothing can ever come between you." As we got older, I naturally fell into the role of her protector. I was the man, after all. I remember her parents teasing her once. "So, are you happy with the husband we picked out for you?" My face flushed hot as I waited for her answer, my heart pounding. She took my hand, her expression completely serious. "Of course I am. I'll never marry anyone but my Ethan." Our parents beamed. Her promise was seared into my memory. I swore to myself that she was the only one I would ever marry. But then senior year started, and everything began to unravel. A new transfer student arrived in our class, Leo Diaz. When he introduced himself, he kept his head down, radiating a kind of shy insecurity. You could tell from his worn-out clothes that his family didn't have much. He was so quiet that he barely registered as a blip on my radar, until I noticed Ava starting to gravitate toward him. A nameless panic started to creep in, but I pushed it down. I trusted her. I trusted us. At first, it was just Leo asking Ava for help with homework. Ava and I were academic powerhouses, always locking down the top 2 spots in our grade. Leo's grades were average. His old school hadn't been nearly as competitive. Our homeroom teacher asked us to help him out, but he never asked me. When I asked him why, he just mumbled something about my desk being harder to get to. It seemed plausible enough, so I let it go. Then one day, I saw him sigh dramatically over a problem set. "Why is this so hard? I got it wrong again." Ava just smiled and tapped his head with her pen. "I think that's the 3rd time I've explained this one. You goof," she said, her tone light and playful. He grinned. "So, are you going to explain it again, Professor Miller?" She rolled her eyes, a reluctant smile playing on her lips. "Fine. What am I going to do with you?" As Leo walked away, he shot a quick, triumphant look over his shoulder at me. I turned to Ava. She was staring after him, her eyes filled with a tenderness and longing I had never seen before. I quickly looked away, pretending I hadn't noticed. But under the desk, my hands clenched into tight fists. A sharp, twisting pain started in my chest. I knew Ava better than anyone. She was usually so reserved, almost aloof, to everyone but me and her family. I'd never seen her look at anyone else like that. I tried to rationalize it, telling myself it was nothing, just 2 classmates being friendly. But the image of them, so easy and familiar with each other, was burned into my mind. The final bell rang, and I could finally breathe. Ava and I packed our bags to walk home together, like we always did. "This backpack weighs a ton," she complained, the way she always did. I smiled and took it from her, the way I always did. We had just stepped out of the school's main entrance when a voice called out from behind us. "Ava, wait up." It was Leo, jogging to catch up. He ran right up to us, grabbed Ava's hand without a second thought, and started pulling her toward the park across the street. "Hurry, Mittens is probably starving." Ava froze for a second, but she didn't pull her hand away. She just looked at me, her eyes clouded with guilt, and took her backpack from my shoulder. Leo slung it over his own back effortlessly. "Ethan, Leo and I are going to check on a stray cat. You should just go on home," she said. And before I could answer, she was gone, letting Leo lead her away without a single glance back. I stood there, watching their retreating figures, fighting the sting in my eyes. Our driver, Mr. Henderson, pulled up to the curb. He looked confused. "Ethan, where's Ava? Isn't she riding with you today?" I didn't answer, just slid in the back of the car. The empty space beside me felt vast. On a strange impulse, I told Henderson to follow them. A few minutes later, we were parked near the edge of the town green. I saw them huddled by a large oak tree. Ava was holding a small stray cat, her face pale. She had a serious thing about germs and had always kept her distance from animals. Leo was breaking up a sausage patty from his backpack and feeding it to the cat. Slowly, the color returned to Ava's cheeks. She looked at Leo with an expression of pure adoration. The three of them, the boy, the girl, and the cat, looked like a perfect, harmonious picture. It was a picture that stabbed me right in the heart. I just stared, my eyes dry and burning. Mr. Henderson, a man who had watched us grow up, looked grim. He understood. "I'll go get her." "No," I said, pulling the car door shut. My hand was shaking. After a long moment, I managed to make my voice sound steady. "It's fine. Let's just go home." The car pulled away in silence. The thing is, Ava and I used to do this too. But because of her aversion to germs, she would only stand and watch while I fed the strays. She never touched them, except for one time when a cat scratched me. She had reacted instantly, grabbing the cat and flinging it away before rushing me to urgent care for a tetanus shot. She spent the rest of the day washing her hands raw. We always laughed about it later. The memory, once so sweet, now felt like a cruel joke. Maybe she'd already forgotten all about our past. The feeling of being slowly flayed alive returned. I wanted to jump out of the car, run back to her, and demand to know why. Why was she falling for someone else? But I had no right to ask. We were childhood friends, that's all. We'd never made it official, never crossed that line. I had always been so sure that our quiet, steady companionship was the ultimate declaration of love. I thought we were just waiting, that it was an unspoken understanding between us. My plan was to wait until graduation day. I would tell her I loved her, take her hand, and proudly announce to our family and friends that we were finally together. We would walk the paths of Harvard's campus together, study together, build a life together. After college, we'd get engaged, then married. We would walk side by side, forever. For now, everything was different. Leo's arrival had shattered that perfect future. A voice in my head screamed at me, "Walk away, Ethan. Get out now, before you completely lose yourself." But the thought of a life without Ava was unimaginable. How could I let her go? I loved her too much. I had never even considered a future that didn't have her in it. Mark and I used to make fun of the pathetic, lovesick heroes in movies who let themselves get walked all over. Now I was one of them. The next morning, Ava walked with me to school. Seeing the dark circles under my eyes, she asked with a flicker of concern, "Ethan, did you not sleep well?" I turned to look at her. Yesterday was the first time we didn't walk home together. It felt weird. Her gaze faltered. I didn't know Leo was going to ask me to do something. "I promise. Next time I'll give you a heads up." I couldn't stop myself. The question tumbled out. "Ava, are you and Leo close?" Her lips pressed into a thin line. It took her a long moment to answer. "We're just classmates." Hearing her say that didn't bring me any relief. My heart sank. "Ava, we've known each other for 18 years. I know when you're lying better than you do." I turned away and stared out the window, but my vision blurred as tears welled up. I choked back a sob and tried to sound casual. "Hey, why don't we switch seats? It might be better if he's not always bothering you for help." I felt her eyes on me for a long time before she quietly said, "Okay." So we switched. At lunch, Leo cornered us as we were about to leave the classroom. "Ava, did you switch seats because you don't want me bothering you?" he asked, his voice laced with hurt. The normally cool and collected Ava looked up, flustered, ready to deny it. I stepped in first. "Don't take it personally, man. It was my idea. With college applications right around the corner, we all need to focus on our own work." Leo stared at me, his eyes full of hostility. I met his gaze without flinching until he finally turned and walked away. After that, he stopped asking Ava for help. At first, I was relieved, but I started to notice Ava growing more and more quiet around me. Yet, during breaks, I'd see her and Leo laughing together in the hallway. Was she only silent with me? I had the strange, unsettling feeling that I had become the villain in our story, the jealous best friend, trying to keep the two main characters apart. The thought was so absurd it was almost funny. Until the midterm results came out a month later. 5, I was still ranked first. But Ava, who was always number 2, had dropped to 9th place. And Leo Diaz was ranked 10th. According to our school's policy of reseeding based on rank, they would now be desk partners. There was no way Ava would ever score that low on her own. It was painfully obvious who she'd done it for. When we moved our desks, Ava whispered, "I'm sorry." She didn't say what she was sorry for, and I didn't ask. We both knew. She was sorry for breaking the silent promise that we'd always be side by side. For years, we had been one and two, inseparable. Now, for someone else, she had finally left my side. I clenched my jaw, swallowing the bitterness, and didn't say, "It's okay." Our classmates watched me with pity. For the past few months, everyone had seen how differently Ava treated Leo. In their eyes, I was the boyfriend who had just been publicly dumped. Their sympathy felt like 1,000 tiny needles piercing my skin. Soon enough, the sound of their laughter drifted from the back of the room. The reserved, quiet Ava was now laughing freely loudly. The sound grated on my ears, a mockery of my own weakness. Ava's parents had to go on an extended business trip overseas and asked my parents to look after her. It didn't take long for my mom and dad to notice the tension between us. The new Six Flags just opened. My mom suggested one morning, "You two should go this weekend, have some fun." I didn't refuse. A part of me was still clinging to hope. But as soon as we were out the door, Ava told me she had to run an errand and would meet me there. When I got to the park, I spotted her right away, waiting by the entrance. She must have been waiting for me. I felt a surge of excitement and started walking toward her, but I stopped dead in my tracks. Ava's face lit up with a brilliant smile, but it wasn't directed at me. It was for a figure jogging toward her from the parking lot. It was Leo. He reached her side, then turned his head. His eyes met mine. Ava followed his gaze and saw me standing there. The smile vanished from her face instantly. The air between us felt thick and heavy. She walked over, pulling Leo with her, and explained in a low voice, "Leo said he's never been to an amusement park before. He wanted to come with us." Leo gave me a cheerful, unapologetic grin. "Sorry about this, Ethan. I kind of begged Ava to bring me along. Hope I'm not ruining your day." Ava nudged him playfully. "Of course he's not. You think Ethan's petty like you." Leo pouted. "Who are you calling petty?" "You," she said, her smile returning. "Definitely you." They walked into the park side by side, bickering playfully. On the roller coaster, they sat together. Ava carefully helped him with his harness, checking to make sure it was secure. They looked so right together, a perfect couple. I sat alone in the row behind them, an outsider. It used to be us holding hands, sitting together on this very ride. She used to check my harness just as carefully. I remember teasing her once, saying, "You're so thoughtful. Some other guy's gonna fall in love with you for that." She'd punched my arm playfully, insisting her thoughtfulness was reserved only for me. But people change. Promises are broken. I tilted my head back, staring at the sky, try to stop my eyes from burning. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I don't even remember how I got home. I just collapsed onto my bed, utterly exhausted. 6 that evening, my mom woke me up. "Ethan, dinner's in the fridge. You can heat it up yourself." I have to go down to the police station. "The police station?" I asked, instantly awake. "What?" She sighed heavily. "It's Ava. She got into a fight at a bar." I shot out of bed. "I'm coming with you." My mom looked at me with a pained expression, but she nodded. At the station, two groups were still squared off, glaring at each other. Ava had a scratch down her face, but her eyes were blazing with a ferocity I'd never seen before. She was staring down a girl with bleach blonde hair and a sleeve of tattoos. This cold, hard version of Ava was a complete stranger to me. Her voice was like ice. "Leo has a rule about not hitting girls. I don't. Remember that. If you ever try to mess with him again, I'll make sure you regret it." Leo came up from behind and wrapped his arms around her, whispering something in her ear. Slowly, the tension left her shoulders. My mom looked at me, her eyes full of sorrow. "Honey, all that talk about you and Ava being destined for each other, it was just talk. You don't have to take it seriously. She's not the one for you. You need to find someone who will cherish you." The wall I had been holding up for months finally crumbled. "Mom," I choked out. "I just don't understand why." She pulled me into a hug. "I know, sweetie. Let's go home." From that day on, Ava and I still went to school and came home together, but in complete and utter silence. I couldn't wrap my head around how we had become such strangers. We sat in the same car, separated by less than a foot of empty space, but it felt like we were in different worlds. She still brought me breakfast every morning, a habit from years past. One day, she placed a container of sushi on my desk. I stared at it for a moment. "You forgot I hate avocado." Her body went rigid, a flicker of panic in her eyes. She quickly took the container back. Oh, right. I'm sorry, I forgot. I glanced at the second, identical container of sushi in her bag. The realization dawned on me. Leo likes California rolls, doesn't he? She lowered her head in a silent admission. In that moment, I finally understood. My love was a one-way street. With that clarity came a wave of profound exhaustion. I was just so tired. As I turned to walk away, I heard her voice, small and hesitant. Ethan, I'm sorry, but I think I'm falling in love with Leo. My fists clenched at my sides. I bit down on my lip so hard I tasted blood. Why are you sorry? I asked, my voice dangerously quiet. Is it because you know I love you? Her answer was barely a whisper. Yes. A tidal wave of emotion threatened to overwhelm me. I didn't dare turn around, afraid she would see the utter devastation on my face. Ava, do you remember what you told me? You said you'd never marry anyone but me. Her voice was low. I'm sorry, Ethan. That was just kid stuff. I'm sorry you took it seriously for so long. Maybe we should keep our distance from now on. I don't want Leo to get the wrong idea. A bitter smile twisted my lips. So you just want me to disappear? To stop bothering you? Is that it? She said nothing. I straightened my back and walked back to my desk. I'd always been proud. Nothing had ever made me compromise my dignity. Not even Ava. After that conversation, we were officially strangers. Her relationship with Leo, however, accelerated. The warmth that had once been exclusively mine was now lavished on him. I threw myself into my studies, burying my head in textbooks and practice exams that IT was the only way to keep my mind from thinking. Mark used to say, "You and Ava are like a match made in heaven." Seriously, did you two skip the part in the afterlife where you're supposed to forget everything? Is that why you're so connected? I just laughed. Maybe in our last life, we were star-crossed lovers, and this life is the universe's way of making it up to us. I never imagined how horribly right I was. The rock that hit me, that knocked me unconscious, also unlocked a door in my mind. In another life, she was Eleanor, the daughter of a wealthy Boston socialite. A family scandal had forced her into hiding in a small, rural town where she struggled to survive. I was the town's doctor. She had fallen ill from hunger and exhaustion, and I was the one who saved her. In that chaotic, unforgiving time, I protected her, cared for her, and stood between her and a world that had cast her out. We fell in love and promised ourselves to each other. But before we could be together, a terrible winter storm hit. The roof of our small cabin collapsed. Without a second's hesitation, I threw myself over her, shielding her with my body. She was pulled from the wreckage alive. I was not. After my death, she made a pilgrimage, crawling on her hands and knees up the 999 stone steps of a remote mountain chapel, her body battered and weak. She was as fragile as a candle flame in the wind, on the verge of being extinguished. If there is a God, she prayed, her voice a ragged whisper, I beg you, let Ethan have a life free of hardship and worry in his next life. My spirit was there, bound to her, unable to leave. As her own life faded, I heard her final, desperate plea. Ethan, if we meet again in the next life, I don't ask that you love me as you did in this one. I only ask that you look my way, just once. At that moment, tears fell from my spectral eyes. If there is a next life, I will never leave your side. But she was already gone, and she would never hear my vow. My own spirit began to fade, the force that held me to her dissolving. As I drifted away, I heard a distant, sorrowful sigh. So, this life, this comfortable, privileged existence, it was what she had traded her own life to beg for on my behalf. The heavens, moved by her devotion, had granted us this chance, to be born together, to grow up together, to love each other without obstacle. But then, why did Leo appear? Was this some kind of cosmic test? I railed against the unfairness of it all, but it changed nothing. This was my fate. As darkness closed in again, my consciousness faded, leaving only the steady beeping of a hospital monitor. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was the stark, white ceiling of a hospital room. Son, you're awake. My mother's voice was thick with relief. A doctor came in, and I was wheeled off for a series of tests. When I finally returned to my room, only Ava was there. She looked pale and exhausted. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it. I felt like I was seeing her across a vast chasm of time. Who are you? I asked, the words coming out before I could stop them. Are you Eleanor? Or are you Ava? She stared at me, her expression filled with confusion. Ethan, it's me. It's Ava. We grew up together. I squeezed my eyes shut. So, I was the only one who remembered. All the pain of this life stemmed from a promise I had made in the last one. If there is a next life, I will never leave your side. No wonder I had fallen in love with her at first sight. No wonder, even when she ditched me, even when she chose someone else, even when she shattered my heart into a million pieces, I couldn't walk away. A profound sense of powerlessness washed over me. Was this it? Was I doomed to this fate? No, I refused to accept it. In my past life, I was a good man, a healer. I saved countless people. I saved Eleanor from certain death. And what was my reward? A brutal, untimely end. What had I done to deserve being the only one burdened with these memories, with this crushing weight of cosmic debt? No, this life of privilege was my reward for the good I did in the last one. It wasn't a gift from her. A long, slow breath escaped my lips. Clarity began to settle in my mind. Ava, seeing my prolonged silence, started to panic. Ethan, I'm going to get the doctor. Ava, wait, I said, stopping her. I agree. I'll give up the Harvard spot. She froze, then slowly turned to face me. Seeing the calm, resolute expression on my face, she stammered, Ethan, thank you. I didn't look at her. I just stared out the window at the brilliant blue sky. Ava, I began, my voice even and calm. We've known each other since the day we were born. 18 years. And in all that time, I can honestly say I have never let you down. I have always been there to protect you, to care for you, and to love you. She hung her head, her long hair falling forward to hide her face. But I could see her shoulders slumped, and it struck me as almost funny. All this time, my love had been a burden to her. Ava, from this day forward, I'm done loving you. Her head snapped up. Her eyes were wide, filled with a strange mix of relief and confusion. I had kept my promise. It was she who didn't want it. Maybe what she needed wasn't my love, but my surrender, my permission for her to go chase after her own great love. So be it. This match made in heaven was over. Finally, she looked at me and managed a quiet, I'm sorry. I closed my eyes. Don't be. And even if I withdraw, Leo's chances of getting my spot are almost zero. We both know that. Instead of pinning his hopes on a long shot, you should probably be helping him study so he can get into the same college as you. She stared at me, trying to read my expression, to see if I was being sincere. Finally, all she said was, I know I didn't deserve your love. A dull ache pulsed in my chest, but the sharp, desperate feeling of loss was gone. She wasn't Eleanor. She was just Ava. We're even now, Ava, I said, and a weight I didn't even know I was carrying lifted from my soul. Our debts from this life and the last are settled, I thought. No more blame, no more obligation. As a final thought, she asked me if I would press charges against Leo for the rock. He'd been overcome with jealousy, she explained. I just waved my hand dismissively. I wouldn't. My knot of obsession had been cut. I had no desire to get tangled up with him ever again. After I was discharged, I opted to study from home while I recovered. Mark became my courier, bringing me notes and assignments every day. He made it clear he wouldn't let Ava anywhere near me. He was afraid I'd fall back into my old patterns. I just smiled tiredly and promised him that I was truly, completely over her. He seemed to believe me. Well, I guess that rock Leo did some good after all, he joked. Knocked the love sickness right out of you. We laughed and it felt good. It had been a long time since I'd thought about anything other than her. Mark filled me in on the school gossip. As predicted, Leo didn't get the Harvard spot. He was never a real candidate. It had all been Ava's wishful thinking. Leo was apparently depressed about it for days. Ava tried to encourage him to focus on the upcoming finals, but he accused her of mocking him. They had a huge fight. They made up a few days later, after she apologized. As he told me this, Mark watched my face carefully. I just shook my head. They were strangers to me now. Finals came and went. My parents drove me to the testing center, and we unexpectedly ran into Ava and her family. We hadn't seen each other in 3 months. She looked terrible, worn down and exhausted. When she saw me, she just froze, her eyes locked on mine. I gave her a small, polite smile. Hey, long time no see. Her voice was hoarse when she finally managed to say my name. Ethan. I had no interest in a long, awkward conversation, so I just nodded and headed toward the entrance. Ethan, wait, she called out. I turned, my patience wearing thin. What is it? She looked at her feet. Just do your best. I know you'll crush it. I didn't know if she was trying to apologize for the Harvard thing or was something else entirely. It didn't matter. I gave her a genuine smile. Thanks. Then I turned, squared my shoulders, and walked into the exam hall. I wouldn't let anyone or anything distract me. I could feel her eyes on my back the entire way. The exams went well. Based on my practice scores, I knew I could get into any top university in the country. Mark did well, too, easily good enough for a solid state school. I heard Ava's scores were a little lower than usual, but still good enough to get into her dream program at MIT. Leo, however, had bombed. His score was only good enough for a second-tier college. Mark asked me worriedly, "You don't think she'd be stupid enough to go to some random college just for him, do you?" I frowned. Back when we were freshmen, our parents had sat us down to map out our futures. They wanted us both to go abroad, get business degrees, and come back to take over the family companies. It aligned perfectly with my own ambitions. But Ava, who was always so agreeable, had been silent. Finally, she had spoken up, her voice firm. "I'm sorry, but I want to study architecture at MIT. It's my dream." I had been stunned by her sudden courage. In that moment, I'd been so proud of her. I immediately declared that I would go with her. Harvard had a great business school. After all, our parents had eventually agreed. That day, Ava had squeezed my hand, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You don't really think she'd go to a lesser school, do you?" Mark asked again. I shook my head. "She's not an idiot." "Of course not." Mark breathed a sigh of relief. "Good. I was worried she was as lovesick as you were." Even though he was my friend, he had a soft spot for Ava and didn't want to see her throw her dreams away. "What about you, Ethan? Are you still set on Harvard?" I shook my head. That was never my dream. It was hers. I'm going abroad, just like my parents always wanted. My parents were thrilled when I told them. "Our son was always meant for great things," my dad said. "It's Ava's loss. You go out there and build your own empire. We've always got your back." I'd already been accepted to a top business school in London. The finals were just a way of proving to myself that I could still do it. No one knew about my plans except for Mark and my parents. I knew I could trust them not to tell Ava. The day I was set to leave was the same day as our high school's graduation party. I sent a message to the group chat saying I was sorry, but something important had come up and I couldn't make it. A few moments later, a private message from Ava popped up. "Ethan, are you not coming because of me?" She had been texting me periodically throughout the summer. On the day college decisions were due, she'd asked what I had chosen at Harvard. I never replied. I wasn't going to reply now. She had been the one to throw away the fate she'd begged the universe for. Now that our accounts were settled, there was no reason for us to be in contact. In the early morning hours, I sat in the airport lounge, waiting for my flight. A video from Mark appeared on my phone. It was from the party. In it, Leo was holding Ava's hand, showing off matching rings on their fingers. "Since Ava was willing to give up MIT for me," he announced smugly, "I guess I have no choice but to make her my girlfriend." I shook my head, a bitter smile on my face. She had actually done it. She had thrown away her dream for a guy. In that moment, the determined, passionate girl who had stood up to her parents for the sake of her future had vanished completely. In the video, Ava wasn't beaming with joy. Her smile was forced, strained. But I laughed out loud. I could finally let her go. I could close the book on the girl I had loved for so many years, and on the feelings that had nearly destroyed me. Suddenly, my heart gave a few powerful, jarring thumps. A surge of vitality, of pure, unadulterated life force, rushed through me. The cosmic debt was paid. The karma was settled. I was finally, completely Ethan Carter. The Ethan from another life, the one trapped by a promise, was gone. The red thread that had been tied around my heart for so long suddenly snapped. As the plane lifted into the night sky, I felt the bars of my cage dissolve around me. I was free.